This is TWiT.
Rumors seem to have converged on the idea of 4 iPhone 12 models, count them, for an iPhone 12 mini, 5.4 inches.
I can't wait to hear what Lory thinks about this one. I've been waiting all week.
The mini, teeny, weeny. Because you like the SE.
I want it.
You like small phones.
I want it.
5.4 inches doesn't sound that small. I mean, the iPhone 4 was
It's smaller than the current SE.
Is it? Oh.
Yeah. It's thin the way the original iPhone 4 was, but taller. So it's like skinny and long, but not as tall as the SE. So, or the current SE. So it's kind of hitting that sweet spot for me, because it's going to be, if all of these rumors are true, it's going to have the almost edge-to-edge screen. We'll call it edge-to-edge screen. So the screen itself will be larger, but the case that it's in will be smaller, and that's pretty exciting for me.
Here are the hands of Marques Brownlee simulating the size of the presumptive mini.
But those are ultimate Frisbee hands. We have no idea.
We have really no idea how big that is, yeah. There will be an iPhone 12, no adjective, an adjective-free iPhone 12 with a 6.1-inch OLED display. And then there'll be two 12 models with the OLED display, the iPhone 12 and the iPhone 12 Pro. And then the one I think I'll get my mom, the 6.7-inch iPhone 12 Pro Max. So 4 different sizes. Will they announce them all at the same time? Will they be available all at the same time?
No.
Yes and no.
Yes to the first one, no to the second.
Okay. So which will be delayed?
So there's a couple different reports. The ones that I choose not to believe is that Apple will put out the two 6.1-inch ones at the same time, just because the 6.1-inch assembly line, so to speak, is all good to go, and the new sizes are more problematic.
Right.
But the one that sounds more recent and more believable is that the iPhone 12 will come out first, almost immediately like usual, and then there'll be a slight delay before the iPhone 12 Pro models. The Pro and the Pro Max hit, late October.
Will the Mini be
November.
available right away, or?
Sounds like it.
Does the Mini replace SE?
No, it's a higher price product. The Mini is like entry level.
Okay.
Sorry, the SE is entry level.
Okay.
Right. So it's not meant to be the low cost one. It's meant to be the small sized one.
Yeah, it'd be amazing if it were that size, but also had pretty much the same camera array as the iPhone 12. If it were no compromises, they basically just took all they did was said, well, it's inevitable that we're going to have to cut down the battery size, but other than that, we're giving you a top tier iPhone 12.
Again, we should emphasize that this is, no one knows. This is leaks, speculation.
There were 2 good and bad rumors, though, yesterday about it. One, that it's going to have the same base storage, everything the same. But then there was this real sketchy rumor, and it's a real pet peeve of mine, that publications are publishing, like this person on Twitter with no track record said. But they were saying that the processor might be lower powered, because they didn't explain why, but they said there's a rumor the processor might be lower powered, and that would only make sense if the battery couldn't take spikes from a regular sized A14, because it's such a small battery. But I choose not to believe this until Apple tells me so.
Well, also, if it's a small phone with a small battery, you don't want to have short battery life, right? So,
brownouts. You don't want brownouts either, which is the bigger concern.
So 9 to 5 is saying that, in fact, the 2 base models, iPhone 12, will only have 2 cameras, and then there'll be 2 iPhones with the triple lens that we're used to. So it may not be the same
as the 11. The 11 has 2 cameras.
Right, exactly.
Right, so the Pros would be the one that have the triple camera.
That's right. That's what makes them
stuff.
Pro.
Yeah.
Time of flight on the back of it, like there is on the iPad Pro? There will be on the Pros, okay.
The thing that
I also have
me
reason
was
to believe that just for size, the iPhone 12 mini might not have Face ID, but will instead have the Touch ID on the button. That I think it would make sense to. It's small, and that camera array would take up pretty much the entire,
all of it,
front of it, right? So to mitigate that, the front-facing camera would not be a Face ID camera, but it would have a button Touch ID instead.
Yeah. There's also the problem of how do you, if you are putting 2 cameras on the back of it on a really small phone, how do you set them up so that people aren't necessarily blocking them with their fingers accidentally? Is that enough room?
I do that now.
And
Okay, true.
are we to expect these all to be 5G phones? Yes, right?
Yes, except different kinds. So like the regular iPhones will be our frequency range 1, which is the low and mid bands, everything up to sub 6, 7, 8, 9 sort of thing. And the Pros will be frequency range 2, which includes millimeter wave, 4G. I was originally not that excited about any of them because the delivery of millimeter wave is atrocious still. Like if you sneeze, your connection is gone, and there's just very little of it anywhere. So you have to live on the block and be outside on top of the antenna. But Sprint just announced N41, which is a great frequency range, mid-range, that does up to, I think, 1 gigabit per second and has very good coverage.
Nice.
So I'm really excited about the frequency range 1, which all the iPhones are going to have. And I still think millimeter wave is a waste of power and price at this point.
Yeah, I think it's really intended for business and some special
stadiums maybe.
Yeah. So you're in Montreal. Are you? You don't have Sprint, but will your carriers?
So we have
this?
low band 5G, which is like LTE plus 20% on a good day, but it should have better coverage. Like Daniel Bader says this so well, it should deliver on the promise of LTE for people in suburban and rural areas who are just always underserved. But our better frequencies have been postponed because of COVID. The auction was postponed till next year. So who knows how long it's going to take to get any of that now.
9 to 5 says the modems will be Qualcomm still, while Apple continues to work on their own silicon.
Yep.
That
Thank
makes
goodness.
sense. This will be an A14, like in the new iPad, right?
Yep.
But not
Unless
Bionic.
it's the B14.
No, it's Bionic.
It's
Well,
Bionic?
that's the rumor that there'll be a B14 in the Mini, but that's an outlandish rumor still. But the A14 is still Bionic. It's the same architecture. It's slight improvement in performance, a really good improvement in efficiency. They're using 5 nanometer. I did a 24-minute long video, Leo, so please cut me off if I get
No, this is good.
too
We got the
detailed on
expert.
this.
Yeah.
But it's down to 5 nanometers, which is a 1.8 times transistor gain. Apple's not using all of that as far as we can tell. So they are shrinking the package as well, which is going to make it much more efficient. And they're spending their transistor budget smartly. They are increasing the CPU and they're increasing the GPUs. They're better performance. The GPUs are new architecture. They've got a 16-core neural engine now. The original one, I think, was 2 cores, and then they went to 8 cores. Now it's 16 cores, much better machine learning accelerators, and they're using all this IP for better blocks to do dedicated tasks on the chip. So you should once again because one of the problems, and I'll just digress for a second, is that a lot of companies are hitting Moore's law hard, and you're seeing NVIDIA spend enormous amounts of voltage to increase power, which is just not good overall. And Intel is just spending cores, which is similarly, you hit thermal limits. And Apple is, by virtue of using efficiency to increase performance, they're getting modest gains overall, but they're doing such specialized packages that I think we're gonna be surprised by how well they work inside the phone for the tasks that we do with iOS.
Other rumors, speaking of smaller packages, Apple will save money on shipping costs by eliminating the earbuds and the charging brick. They did that with the watch, I noticed. And they'll make up for that with a braided cable. Lightning to USB-C. Woo!
For the Pros though, right? That one's not for all 4 of them. That's just for the Pros, I believe.
Yes, the Pros will get the braided cable, but even the non-Pro will get the USB-C to Lightning cable. That's just, who knows? These rumors, as you say.
Yeah.
That could even just be a new cable
Twitter.
that Apple is going to sell.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean it's a cable that will be in the box.
Right.
And most people still have USB-A on their PCs. So, I mean, who are we serving with some of these changes?
Right.
The thing that I found kind of interesting is that, again, according to rumors, that for the bottom 2, it's still going to be 64 gig as the floor for storage, which seems kind of chintzy in 2020. I know that a lot of people say that 64 gigs is plenty, but that's not a whole lot of headroom if you're shooting 4K video. It's not a whole lot of headroom if you're downloading movies and video that you bought or streamed.
Well, presumably that would be scaled to size. So the mini would be the one that started at 64 gigs, which I don't think anybody's shooting 4K video on a phone like that. That they would most likely be buying the Pro phone if they're looking to do something like that. So it might be a matter of keeping a cost for the mini because I'm not going to pay $1,000 for a mini. That's too much. But if you give it to me a few $100s less than that, and you kind of trim off some excess that could help reduce the cost. Like I would get a 64 gig mini instead of a starting price of 120 gig mini because that would give me the lower starting point.
But I did see one of the Twitter rumors that both the iPhone 12 and the iPhone 12 mini, again, just a rumor, the floor was 64.
Yeah. This is according to Apple Track's 72.7% accurate John Prosser. His score went down a little bit. The first shipments of iPhone 12s going out to distributors October 5th. There will be a mini with 64 gigs. There will be a 12 with 64 gigs. The Pros will start at 128 gigs.
Yeah.
The issue that Apple's facing. Sorry. Go
ahead.
This is what happens
I was going to say the issue
two
that
Wi-Fi signals meet. Both of them just
the
stop.
issue Apple's facing is that the cost for these phones have gone way up because they're putting OLED panels in the regular models now. They're putting much better OLED panels in the Pros, and the 5G modems. Qualcomm is exacting a really pretty penny for all of that technology. And we've seen other vendors hike up prices. Like if you look what Galaxy S20 and Note 20 cost this year compared to last year, even some of the higher end OnePlus devices compared to previously, everyone is just passing those costs on to consumers. And it looks like Apple wants to maintain pricing. They're going to play a little bit of a game where they reduce the mini by $50, but raise the regular one by $50. So you have basically two ends of those, but they're going to keep the $999 and $1099 and not raise those. So everything that they can do to cut costs around that and keep those prices, I think I don't want to say desperately, but I think in 2020 when people are really feeling the pinch, they're trying to keep those prices as stable as they can.
Yeah, I just wonder if they're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You know, if they're making, I hope that the sum total of choices that they're making, meaning that we're going to hold the line on display technology, we're going to hold the line on processor power, we're going to hold the line on this, which means that we have less money left if we're going to hold on to a $699 price point to put in 128 gigs. I hope that they're not taking away something that would be useful and life-saving. And if you are on a vacation and you didn't know you're going to be shooting 20 minutes of video, you didn't know you're going to be hanging out and doing a lot of stuff, and suddenly you are just playing out and you've got too much time before you can get back to the hotel on the Wi-Fi. That's something that people would say, gee, I'm really glad that I have this high refresh rate on this display so that the warning saying that you're totally out of storage, sorry, you're not going to be able to get pictures.
Oh, you're not even getting that.
Playing.
But at least you have an SD card. Oops, sorry.
Right. Well, as long as they have the headphone jack.
Don't.
Not even the headphones, Andy. Like you have nothing to plug into that jack anymore.
How about if there's like a USB-C type jack, but it's just a sticker? So
I have this nightmare. I have this nightmare that Apple's finally going to announce USB-C for iPhones the minute the consortium announces USB-C Mini.
Aye.
That's how I see this all playing out.
Aye.